Sometimes it can seem like homesteading is just a whole lot of hard work. We talk about our struggles, we talk about the things that we don't always like doing, but then there's the other side of homesteading, the romantic side, the side that keeps us going when things get tough. And today, Michelle and I are each going to tell you about the things that we love the most about living this homestead life. There are a lot of things that we really love about homesteading. There's some of the feelings that we get, some of the things we grow, some of the things that it does for our family. The first thing that I want to tell you about that I love about homesteading is the thing that I love having the most on our homestead. And to do that, I'm going to show you some footage from a few days ago. We were away for the evening and we were driving in the lane. I showed my headlights out in the field. We're pretty sure we saw a baby calf out there. That's like 5 days early, but that's exciting. It was cold earlier this week, but it warmed up a little bit. Hey there, little girl. It's starting to sprinkle just a little bit, but this is like really, really nice weather to have a baby calf. I'm super happy for that. I'm closing them up in the corral up here for the night. I didn't want the calf to be able to accidentally get outside of the fence and Maddie not to be able to get up to her. Here she comes. Started sprinkling out there a little bit, so they've got shelter. Maddie's got hay. Hey, she got it, she got it. My absolute favorite thing to have on our homestead is a new baby calf. I love the new life. I love watching them run around in the pasture. I love seeing the mama cow and the calf together. It does something inside of me. Oh, there's a lot of milk. My absolute favorite product that we grow or raise on our homestead is milk. I love drinking plain milk. I love chocolate milk a lot, as you'll know if you've watched many of our videos. And I love the things you can make with milk. Cheese, I'm really hoping to start making hard cheese this winter. Cottage cheese, possibilities are endless. And I also love how healthy it is. It's gotten a bad rap in the past, but it is so good for you. It's almost like a superfood. I love too that it's something that we can grow or raise that we can't really get anywhere else. So like with grass-fed beef, you can get that at the grocery store. Might not be the best, but you can get it. But with raw milk, that's something that we just can't just go and get, and something we can raise for ourselves, and it's really, really fulfilling.
My favorite thing that we grow on the homestead is raspberries and strawberries, any kind of berries and fruit. Every single year I tell Cody that whenever strawberry season and raspberry season come around, I just feel like a queen. Before I started growing our own berries here on the homestead, I would just take a mixing bowl and I'd go to a U-pick patch and I would pick as many strawberries as I could afford, which was usually about one mixing bowl full. I would literally spend a solid $30 to $40 on one mixing bowl of U-pick strawberries, and they weren't even organic. So I think some of the reason that I value the berries so much is, number one, they're so tasty. It's different than growing a potato, you know? But also I understand the value of them. For example, this bag of raspberries here, when picked fresh, would cost $40 at the grocery store. And I picked this many raspberries in one single day, every day for a few weeks during peak raspberry season. Cody mentioned that milk and cream and calves and all the things are his favorite part of homesteading. And actually, they are one of my favorites too. I'm so pleased to have raw milk and raw cream to add to my tea. I haven't been feeling near as good drinking grocery store milk, unfortunately.
Part of the reason that we got started homesteading was because we wanted healthy food. But the reason that I started eating healthy food, back in the day, my favorite food was Pop-Tarts. I did not eat healthy food at all, but I was having some really bad teeth problems. Oh, that's making a mess. I read this book called Cure Tooth Decay. It was just kind of the smack in the face that I needed to get me to start eating healthy. That's what got us started on this journey. But I think even a bigger reason for me was I wanted something better for my family. It was right about that time that our first son was born. We were living in a basement apartment, and I knew that I didn't just want to raise my son in a little basement apartment with nowhere to go, nothing to do. I grew up out in the country. We had a couple horses and I had a four-wheeler. I could ride on trails and stuff. I loved being in the woods. I loved being outside, and I wanted to give that to my family. Even if I could feel like I could buy all of this healthy food and work a day job or whatever, I would still rather have this life. For the first few days after a cow freshens, that's when she has a calf and she's in milk again, it's all colostrum. And we saved some of that for the calf in case we need to bottle feed the calf for some reason. And then for the next few days after that, there's a lot of colostrum in the milk. It's super healthy for you, but it doesn't taste as good, so we don't actually drink that. But we're several days in now, and this is pretty much all just milk. So it's getting to the place where I can finally start having a nice glass of fresh milk.
I've been gardening ever since I was a kid. My mom taught me practically everything that I know about gardening and preserving food. Even as a teenager, I had a huge garden out back on our property, and I would just go out there and hang out. There was something that I just really loved about connecting with the soil, and it was odd because none of my siblings or any of my friends was the same as me in this area. Like, I didn't know anyone my age who enjoyed gardening. Once I got married and had children, gardening took on a whole new meaning for me. It went from being a hobby to this passion of putting healthy food in front of my family. Every single gardening season, I get hit all over again with how incredible it is that I can like partner with God and nature to put food in front of my family. Somehow, it just never gets old.
I think the thing that I love the most for myself living this homestead life is that feeling, that feeling of accomplishment, seeing all the things that we've worked for and all the things that we've done here on our homestead. Bombs away! Ah! Don't crush my fence! Everything that you see here on our homestead, like literally everything, we built from the ground up. We have worked so hard. We've made so many sacrifices. We pinched our pennies and we've made it happen. And then that feeling of accomplishment after we do those things, with each and every project, with each and every new calf, baby chicks that we raise to be meat chickens or egg-laying chickens, there's that sense of accomplishment that is just really like nothing else. I used to use all square bales of hay, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but these round bales are so much nicer during the winter. It saves a lot of time and effort. And for me, I don't have a place to store hay here either. I just don't have enough space in my barn. And I worked out a deal with a friend of mine that I pay him a little bit extra for these round bales, and he stores them for me and I just go pick them up as needed. And if you're wondering, there's a couple ways to feed round bales. You can just leave it like this. Cow will eat out the end here where it's not covered, but then you end up with this wrap on the ground and it gets covered in hay and it's hard to get out. So what I'll probably do later is put some little gates around here, either some gates, little hog panels, whatever, something to make so that they can't just trample it all down.
One of the things in homesteading that brings me so much joy is the feeling of abundance. Like, I literally get hit with like waves of just feeling so spoiled, so blessed. Nature is just so generous. I can literally, during tomato season, I can bring in one piece of fruit and that one tomato will have enough seeds in it to feed dozens and dozens of families with tomatoes for an entire year. There's like 150 to 300 seeds in the average tomato. Quality food is so expensive, but we have such an abundance of it here on the farm. Like, raw milk here in Ohio is $13 a gallon plus a herd share fee. And we are swimming in raw milk right now. I get a lot of flack from people who think that I'm a bit wasteful sometimes with some of our homestead food. For example, I dump water off of my tomatoes before I can them so that I don't have to cook it all off. People tell me that I should can all of that and use it in soups and stews, but the thing is that if I would save all of that tomato water, I would put hours and hours and hours of time into canning that tomato water. And if I use that tomato water in soups and stews, I would never get around to using some of my homemade bone broth and things like that. So on a homestead, there's just so much abundance. I don't feel like it's wasteful to put it on the compost pile where it can then fertilize next year's plants. What, honey?
I'm hungry.
You're hungry? People also flip out when they see that I don't always save all the buttermilk from my butter making. I make pounds and pounds and pounds of butter. And if I saved all of the buttermilk and actually used it all up, we wouldn't have any room in our stomachs to drink whole milk, like the really good stuff. And I could never make enough ranch dressing and baked goods to use up all the buttermilk. So to me, homesteading is just, there's so much abundance that there's enough abundance to go around. I can pour that buttermilk onto my garden and it can make a gorgeous garden next year. And also I can be generous. That's another thing that I love so much about homesteading is the ability to be generous.
In the world that we live in today, so many of the kids are growing up without learning the value of responsibility, the value of hard work, the value of just doing mundane, everyday tasks as a family together. And I think that's really sad. And that's something that I wanted to instill in my children. And there are other ways to do it, but to me, a homestead was one of the best ways to do it. And so I really love seeing my children learn those things. And trust me, they are still kids. They still love the bright things, the fun things. They love to eat junk food when they get the chance. But I can see that they are learning those things. And I know that they will take those things with them for the rest of their life.
I really love that my kids know the process it takes to put food on their plates. You might wonder why this cream is so crazy yellow. I mean, in real life, I don't know how it comes across in the camera, but it is like neon yellow. We know that colostrum is very good for you, but honestly, we don't love to drink it just like as milk or on cereal or something. It has a bit of a different flavor than just regular whole milk. But I found out a few years ago that you can make butter with the cream off the colostrum, and it's delicious. Like, we can't really tell the difference besides the color. And so we're still getting all the vitamins and nutrients and immune boosting properties of colostrum without having to drink a whole glass of it. I bought a science course for my kids when they were in like kindergarten and first and second grade. And I ended up skipping through like the entire thing because they automatically knew all the things in that science course already just by having worked in the garden and taken care of animals and things like that. Most of the things that kids learn in like first and second grade in science is like plant life, animal life, weather, things like that. And all of those things they're learning through experience when they're living on a farm. I just really love it that my children are part of the process that it takes to put food on their plate. I feel like Americans in general just really don't have much of a clue about all the miracles and also the sacrifices that go into putting food on their plates. And so it doesn't bother them to waste food like it does me, simply because they don't treasure the food on their plates. They don't know anything about it. While I realize that this colostrum butter might gross some people out, I know so many people in my life who would be so grossed out by this, but this is nutrition. Like, the color in this food is absolutely stunning. People literally buy colostrum in capsules. This is the real deal. Sometimes when I go to restaurants, I'll see tables that are deserted and they literally have like half-filled plates on the table, and all of that food is going to get thrown away. It literally makes me sick because somebody somewhere put a ton of effort into raising that beef or growing that asparagus or baking that bread. And so it just kind of proves my point that when people don't understand how much effort goes into their food, they don't treasure it.
There is a lot of romance and a lot of joy on a homestead, and we love it. But I also know that the struggle is real. There's overwhelm and it can be really tough sometimes. So I put together a playlist of videos where we talk about overcoming those obstacles, and it's right here for you to watch next. And I'm sure you all are wondering, the calf's name is Holly.